Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and, honestly, mysterious images in the entire Bible. We're talking about a set of keys that unlock a story of cosmic warfare, an inescapable prison, and maybe the greatest jailbreak ever imagined.
So this is the resurrected Christ speaking to the Apostle John in a vision. And the claim he makes here is, well, it's just staggering. He's not just saying, hey, I'm alive. No, he's saying he has seized control. He declares that he holds the keys to death itself and to Hades, the realm of the dead.
You know, this is so much more than just some poetic language. It's really the dramatic finale to a story about a universal prison, its terrifying gatekeepers, and the one person who broke in, defeated the wardens, took their keys, and then just walked right back out.
Okay, so to really solve this mystery, we've got to look at two key passages, pun intended, from the book of Revelation. Now, the author puts these two statements side by side on purpose, and even though they seem worlds apart, they're actually two halves of the same incredible claim.
See the shift here, it's pretty wild. In one breath, Christ claims authority over the underworld, right? The realm of the dead. But in the next, he's claiming authority using the key of David, which is a really clear reference to the royal house of Israel's greatest king. So the question becomes, how do these two completely different ideas, a cosmic prison and a royal palace, how do they lock together?
To get what the keys are all about, we first have to understand who held them before this whole heist went down. In the ancient world, death and Hades weren't just, abstract concepts. For the writers of the Bible, their Hebrew equivalents, Mot and Sheol, were active, intelligent characters in this whole cosmic drama. Sheol was the underworld, and Hades is just the Greek word for that very same place.
For the ancient mind, personification wasn't just a fancy literary device. It actually reflected how they saw the world. They didn't see death as simply the end of life. They saw death as a power, a hungry entity that was actively hunting and imprisoning all of humanity.
And this right here is a perfect example of that worldview. The prophet Hosea isn't just writing a nice poem, he's literally taunting a conscious enemy. He's speaking directly to death and Sheol, mocking them like they're defeated tyrants who can actually hear his words.
And just listen to this imagery from the prophet Isaiah. Sheol, the underworld, isn't some place. It's a ravenous monster with this insatiable appetite, just opening its jaws wider and wider to swallow up everyone. It's a predator that literally never rests.
So, it's absolutely crucial we get this. These weren't just destinations. They were cosmic powers. They were the jailers of a prison that nobody could escape from. They held the keys, and believe me, the gates only swung one way, in.
So just how inescapable was this prison, really? How absolute was the rule of these ancient gatekeepers? Well, the picture the Old Testament paints is pretty bleak.
The rule was devastatingly simple. Everybody dies, and everybody goes to Sheol. It didn't matter if you were a prophet or a pagan king. It was the final destination for all. Now, there was this deep hope that God would one day stage a mass rescue, but within their own history, it was a one-way street. No one came back.
The rule of death was so absolute, in fact, that the Hebrew Bible only records two exceptions. The ancient patriarch Enoch and the great prophet Elijah were taken directly by God, completely bypassing the underworld. And their stories are told precisely because they are the dramatic exceptions that just prove the grim rule for everyone else.
And it's this reality that really sets the stage for the claim in Revelation. This is what makes it so radical. See, Christ didn't get a special pass like Enoch or Elijah. He went into the prison. He descended right into the heart of the enemy's territory, and then he walked back out, an event with absolutely no precedent.
Because the prison was inescapable, a rescue was going to require something more than a pardon. It needed a full-blown heist. If death and Hades are the jailers, then Christ is presented as the divine operative who breaks in with one purpose: to take their authority.
I died, and I have the keys, implies this exact sequence of events. It's a whole battle narrative squeezed into a single triumphant sentence. In that time between his death on the cross and his resurrection, a cosmic showdown took place. He entered their domain, he confronted the powers that ruled there, he conquered them, he seized their keys, their actual authority, and he returned alive, forever. And this is the vital distinction, right here. He didn't go to the underworld to be its prisoner. He went as a divine warrior to dethrone its rulers. He descended not to suffer its penalty, but to seize control by force.
For the first century audience, this was a direct challenge to their whole worldview. I mean, they knew about the Greek goddess Hecate, who was said to hold the keys to Hades. They knew about Jewish traditions, about figures like the angel Arameel who governed the abyss. The message in Revelation is shockingly exclusive. Nope, Christ has displaced them all. He is now the one and only keyholder.
So this brings us all the way back to our initial mystery. How does conquering death and Hades connect to that other phrase, the key of David? Well, this is where the two sides of the victory finally merge into one amazing picture.
The key of David is a direct quote from the prophet Isaiah. In the original story, this key was given to a new prime minister named Eliakim, and it symbolized his absolute authority over the king's household. He alone decided who could get into the king's presence and who was shut out.
When you put them side by side like this, the picture becomes perfectly clear, doesn't it? The two sets of keys represent two sides of the same sovereign power. The keys of death and Hades, they signify victory over the old, broken reality. And the key of David signifies the authority to build the new one.
And here is the connection, and it is so profound. Holding the keys of death is the necessary prerequisite for wielding the key of David. You have to first conquer the enemy's prison before you can open the doors to the Father's house. The victory has to be won before the new kingdom can ever be established.
Christ's victory over the underworld isn't just his own personal escape story, it's what empowers him to open the door to a new creation for everyone. A kingdom, a family, where death just doesn't have the final say anymore. One key closes the door to the grave, the other one opens the door to life.
And so, what starts as a cryptic phrase from an ancient vision, it transforms into this powerful declaration of ultimate victory. It asserts that the keys to our oldest and greatest enemy have changed hands. The prison has been broken, the warden dethroned, which leaves us with a final, echoing question to consider for ourselves.